Starting off again with part one of this podcast, we have the non-spoiler section. Kekkai Sensen is an anime that aired in the spring of 2015 and then ended just recently, a couple weeks ago,
a few
on
weeks
October
ago.
5th. Yeah.
They released the final 12th episode, I believe, as a 45-minute episode instead of a 20.
So the first 11 aired in spring, and then the last
one was postponed till now.
Yeah, and, we finally got that last... Well, and since that last episode came out, we decided to watch it. What do you guys think about it? In a non-spoiler way.
I really enjoyed it. It, at times, reminds me of Fooly Cooly. Not quite as deep as Fooly Cooly likes to go, but it's got the same sort of silly, nonsensical sort of just progression. But I really enjoyed it overall.
Connor?
It was great. OST is amazing.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Well, definitely it's great for what it does. It has, a lot of action, a lot of, style. It's really stylized. It has some pretty goofy moments. And I'd say it's all the comedies timed pretty well. It'll tug at the heartstrings sometimes. So you're kind of getting, a mixed bag with this. It's pretty, in the middle on that. Yeah. But it is pretty kooky. And the time... I would personally say if you want something that's really straightforward...
This is not for you.
Yeah. You have to kind of... it's a lot of people compare it to Baccano, but unlike Baccano, where it's all the pieces are kind of scattered at the beginning, and then you kind of piece them together, and then you have the full puzzle. In this, it goes at the normal, from beginning to end, but it'll skip over, seemingly important details that you kind of got to figure out on your own, and just never come back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it scatters pieces around, and then instead of always connecting them all back together, it just connects some of them back together. So it's constantly doing different things with itself, and that makes it very interesting, but also don't expect full continuity.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to explain this is it's kind of like a series of shorts with a overlying story along with it. It's about basically a guy moving into New York City that's been kind of taken over by this fantasy sci-fi monster realm. Where monsters and humans kind of live in coexistence. So it's kind of this... He goes into this, and it's kind of the misadventures from the day-to-day of his life living there.
Yeah. Kind of joins the X-Men or Men in Black. It's a weird organization. They're just meant to make sure no one, takes over the place.
Yeah.
They kind of keep it in a state of, sort of pandemonium, but sort of, harmony.
Yeah, I think what I could describe this as is... We've named a couple is... You kind of take, Fooly Cooly, and you kind of take the style to it, take the storytelling from Baccano, and then combine it with the episodic nature of Space Dandy, and you kind of get this.
It's got a bit more of an overarching story than Space Dandy does.
Well, yeah,
but
it has a nice overarching story that's anime only.
I honestly compare it more to Soul Eater.
I could see that.
They keep bringing in more characters, and the characters stay.
Yeah.
After they bring them in the first time. Yeah. But they'll keep introducing characters
It just doesn't have as much time as Soul Eater did.
It had 12 episodes. It did its job. But this is based on a manga by the same name. And Bones, the studio that animated this, actually wrote a lot of original content for this anime. Basically, the manga goes by very similar. It's not... the manga, from what I've read about, is it's not really overarching stories. Or not... I mean, there's no really overarching story. It's little short... arcs that have their own self-contained stories about life living there.
Yeah.
And so the anime takes that and then adds an overarching story to them and kind of, moves things around to kind of present stories in different ways. Yeah, what else do you have to say?
I mean, for the intro non-spoiler section, not much else.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting show.
The problem is, again, this is our first time kind of discussing this, and it's really hard, trying to be spoilers, it's kind of hard to do that, because there's a lot to talk about. This is a very, very interesting show.
The characters are fun, there's a variety of powers, but it mostly has to do with blood, so all the enemies are, all the characters are, blood-type fighting. Every move they have has to do with blood, but like some will mix in like elements and stuff, and they'll do it in different ways.
There's different styles of fighting, but they all use blood in some form or another.
Main character's power, if you care, is like he just has vision. It's just like this really powerful sight. His eyes have like.
He has really powerful eyes.
He can't really use it in battle. He can kind of like mess with the enemy's senses, but that's about it.
Yeah. But yeah, the way that I would say it is, if we're gonna recommend this, it's if you're really into kind of like an episodic nature of a show. If you're looking for kind of quirky characters and also a kind like one of those disjointed stories like how Baccano was, then this is again the anime for you.
This is kind of a grab bag of all the elements you might like in a show, just kind of thrown into one.
Yeah,
And mix in a blender and then adding
doesn't
style
have much
and music.
Focus on this on the stuff it like brings to the table, but it has all the stuff. So
yeah, it has it all there. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think this could be the closest that I could say is like, I don't know, something. Again, the most episodic thing I've seen. I mean, I haven't seen Space Dandy, so
it's kind of ironic how this is like it's not very approachable for like some. Well, some people might not find it approachable. If you watch a bit of anime, you'd probably be able to get into this, but it's like it has a little of everything that everyone might like.
Yeah,
it's weird. If you know someone who's like kind of forgiving when it comes to like little lapses of judgment and doesn't need everything like explained to them, this is definitely a show that like it's pretty safe to show anyone, I'd say.
Yeah, it covers a broad variety of topics. All its fight scenes are pretty interesting too. It definitely doesn't get boring.
Yeah, it
It's
definitely
very
does.
fast-paced.
It's a very fast-paced anime. It's a very nice short watch to get all 12 episodes done, and I highly recommend this. How would you? Just to make sure.
I would also recommend it to pretty much most people.
Yeah.
Not as something that I think is going to end up being anybody's favorite, but as something that I think most people can enjoy watching.
If you want a good hook for yourself to start watching this, something to like make you want to watch it, watch the opening and ED. They're great.
Yeah. If not, if you want to watch like a random episode, like because the first episode's a little bit confusing. If you just want to pick a random episode to see, episode 6, easily like a single story.
Is that the burger episode?
Yeah, that's the burger episode.
I don't think that's a good episode to start on. I don't think that gives
Start
a good...
with episode 1.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
just watch episode 1.
I feel
Episode
like-
6 is enjoyable, but to some people, I think that's not as broad as the rest of the show. Episode 6 is definitely
It's
not
kind
going
of
to appeal to
specialized.
everyone.
I don't know. I feel like it might be, but anyway.
If this show could have filler, that would be the filler episode.
But the best filler episode.
It was
But
enjoyable
we'll talk about
for
that.
sure.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Besides that, we highly recommend this show, and you should watch this.